I used to be the guy to say, fuck the iPad. And the last video I said that in, yo, let me give you a little backstory. I used to be the guy to say, fuck the iPad. It's currently sitting at 29,000 views on YouTube. Now, 1 year later, here I am with 2 tablets and a whole new mindset. You see, I didn't just hate the iPad, I hated tablets in general. And my idea of them were, I felt like they were useless devices. Why would you have a tablet when you have a smartphone and a laptop? So if there's anything you can't do on your iPhone or whatever smartphone you had, you could obviously do it on your computer. But I was so wrong about that. As a person living with ADHD, I lose my train of thought very easily. There's always things going on in my head. There's thoughts racing at 100 miles per hour every time. And the only one thing that I learned to do to save myself was to write down my thoughts on paper. So every chance I'd get, every thought I'd get, I'll put it down on paper. I had notebooks all around me, jotters, I had sticky notes everywhere. If I had an idea for a video to make, I had to write it down. If I had mixed notes, I'm a mix engineer by the way, I had to write the whole thing down. If I had plans for the next day, if it wasn't on paper, it wasn't happening. And even when I knew exactly what I was gonna do, if I don't look at a checklist and cross out the things that I've done, I won't have enough motivation to get other things done. It was all cool, dandy, rosy, until I started getting tired of books and pieces of paper everywhere in the house. And then I started thinking, maybe tablets are not such a bad idea. I went online to look for a suitable tablet for myself. As an iPhone and a MacBook Pro user, my first thought was to go look for an iPad. And when I saw the price of these devices, coupled with the resentment I already had for tablets, I just thought to myself, there's no way I'm spending that amount of money on an iPad. I saw the iPad Pros. I was contemplating between buying the iPad 10th generation or the iPad mini 6 and realizing the pen, the Apple Pencil, I had to charge it externally. That wasn't something I was ready for. And then I remembered that Samsung makes great devices. I've had Samsung phones in the past and I know they're really solid. I know Samsung makes certain parts for Apple and I thought I should look into their tablet lineup. They had a few tablets that caught my eye, although highly priced, but I found the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE, the one that I have here right now, and I thought it was a great deal. I bought the tab and it changed my life. I was finally able to consolidate all of my writings, all of my ideas, all of my sketches and everything into one device where I could take everywhere with me, open it and have everything in one place and not have to think about forgotten pieces of paper or a notebook somewhere at the house or at work. I used it for a year and then I arrived at a different crossroads. I had no synchronization. So if you're in the Apple ecosystem, you know how fluid it is. You have messages on your iPhone, they're there on your MacBook. If you have a note on your MacBook, you can see it on your iPhone. The syncing is good. I would say the Apple ecosystem is one of the best things about Apple. And if I had Samsung devices all through, this wouldn't be an issue for me, but it's not realistic for me to start changing my phone and my computer just so I can use a tablet. And with that being established, I had to stick to my Apple devices and find an Apple tablet. There comes the iPad. On the market again, doing research and finding the best iPad for myself, I found the iPad mini 7th generation. The price was not too crazy. It was something I could get. But the fact that I need to buy the Apple Pencil separate from the iPad mini wasn't something I quite liked, but I did it anyway. When my iPad mini 7 arrived, I did record an unboxing video. However, I couldn't turn it into a comprehensive video to be worthy of posting, so I never did because I found the similarities of the iPad mini and the Samsung Galaxy Tab to be more than the differences. This is not a technical review. This is not a review video where I'm telling you all about the specs of these two tablets. I'm giving you a user review, telling you a user experience, real life, 1 year of usage of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE and a few months of owning the iPad mini 7. If you are in my position, if you are in my shoes and you need a tablet and you're trying to figure out which one you should get, I think this will be a very helpful video to you. I'm sure it's pretty obvious that these two tablets run on different operating systems. The iPad mini 7 runs on iPad OS and the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE runs on Android OS. Now there are pros and cons to it. Starting with the iPad mini, before now, all iPads were running on iOS, which just made the tablets feel like a zoomed in iPhone or an oversized iPhone. I think it was one of the reasons why I never liked iPads in the first place, because I always thought, what can I do with a tablet that I can't do with a phone? Except you're like a graphic designer and you need a larger screen to make your sketches on there and you're a digital artist. It made sense to me then, but I didn't really get the situation. But now I understand that tablets are a very good in-between device. Sometimes where you don't want to use your smartphone for something because you need a larger screen, at the same time you don't want to have the feeling of being on a computer and having a physical keyboard with you. Those are great times for the tablet to come in. And with Apple making iPad OS a dedicated operating system, things like Safari on iPad kind of feels like Safari on Mac and not Safari on iPhone. The web pages on iPad will look like what you will see on a computer screen. I can't say the same for the Samsung Tab, because since Samsung runs Android OS, browsers on the Samsung tablet feel like the same browsers on your smartphones because it's all APK files. If you install the same APK on your tab and on your Samsung phone, they all look alike. So in my opinion, I feel like Apple makes a better tablet experience as compared to Samsung, although Android OS works regardless if it's a smartphone, a tablet, or a TV. There are pros and cons to each, but it's up to the user to decide on that. And another factor to that is just what operating system you're already using. If you already have a MacBook, then get an iPad. If you're using a Windows computer, then get a Samsung, because it's easier to integrate Android OS and Windows OS. Another difference of these two tablets are the physical size and the form factor. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE, I'm tired of calling this by its full name. I'll just call it the Samsung Galaxy Tab. So the Galaxy Tab, yeah, is bigger than the iPad mini. It wasn't a problem for me at first, but when I got the iPad mini, I could really appreciate the size of it. In my opinion, this is what an iPad should be. This is what a tablet should be. I don't think tablets should be really huge, except like I said, you're a graphic designer or you're a digital artist, then you need a big screen to write things on or draw things on. But if you're using it for everyday activities like myself, jotting down notes, I think the iPad mini is the best size you can get. It fits into almost every bag you'll take out of the house. It fits into some jacket pockets. It fits into some jeans pockets. So size-wise, the iPad mini is my favorite. The Samsung is not that huge as well. It's almost the size of a 12-inch laptop. If you've got a backpack, you won't feel the difference. You won't feel the size as a problem. Weight-wise, because the Samsung is physically larger, the weight is also noticeably heavier than the iPad's weight. It's not a huge difference, but it's noticeable. And with the larger size of the Samsung tablet comes a slightly better battery. So this has 8,000 mAh and the iPad mini has 5,000 mAh. This is not something that I have really noticed to be a factor. So with the Samsung Tab, like I said, I only pick it up when I'm trying to write stuff. I use it to watch YouTube here and there. My iPad does the same thing. And the battery life has always lasted me a whole day in whatever scenario I'm in, whatever I'm using it for. I've never had to pause during the middle of the day to charge my tablet. They always run to the end of the day where I get home and I can charge properly. Although I said I'd only be talking about the differences of these two tablets and not really the similarities, we know these two tablets do have a stylus with it. Apple has the Apple Pencil and Samsung has got the S Pen. Which is better? I can't quite pick one because I've had different experiences on both of them and I'm happy with both of them. The S Pen has a physical button that you can press to change the function temporarily or permanently depending on how you set it to be. Meanwhile, the Apple Pencil Pro, in my case, I have the Pencil Pro. The Pencil Pro has no physical buttons. There's gestures. You could rotate it, you could tap it, you could squeeze on it and it'll change the function. I'm happy with both of them. The other difference between the Galaxy S Pen and the Apple Pencil Pro are the Galaxy S Pen comes with the tablet. When you buy a Samsung tablet, they include an S Pen, but if you buy an iPad mini or an iPad Pro, regardless what iPad you buy, an Apple Pencil is not coming along. You have to buy an Apple Pencil separately, which I think is kind of lame because Apple's base model on their iPads is 64 gigabytes and the base model on Samsung tablets is 128 gigabytes. So Apple kind of makes you pay more for less and they compensate you with their amazing ecosystem or their wonderful other features. I mean, that's a whole different topic for another day. But when it comes to value for money, I would say you kind of feel like you're getting more for less money with the Samsung, and with the iPad, you're just buying into the ecosystem. You're buying into the prestige, into the reputation that Apple has built for itself. Something that I didn't know about until I started using these tablets, where these two are entry-level tablets to their respective manufacturers. So the iPad mini 7 is the newest generation of iPad minis. However, it's still the most affordable iPad that you can get. There's an iPad Pro, there's an iPad Air, there's other iPads with different chips in the same lineup. And with the Samsung Galaxy Tabs, we have a Samsung Galaxy S9, there's a Samsung Galaxy S9 Ultra, there's a Samsung Galaxy S9 FE Plus, which is bigger than this, and this is the Samsung Galaxy S9 FE. Samsung says the definition of FE is Fan Edition, so it's a stripped down version of whatever the Samsung Galaxy S9 has to offer. And with that being said, none of these tablets vibrate. They don't produce any form of haptic feedback. They will ring out though, loud enough, but they won't vibrate. It's not a deal breaker for me. I don't care about vibration on tablets that much. As long as my phones vibrate, I'm good. And the screens on these devices are something I believe is worthy of mentioning. If you're someone who spent loads of time on your MacBook Pro, you're looking at your iPhone Pro displays, you will notice a difference if you look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab screens. It's not as high resolution as you would expect. It's not as high resolution as the Galaxy S9 or the Galaxy S9 Ultra. It's not as high res as the iPad Pros. And not like the iPad mini is high res. It's not. It doesn't have a high refresh rate. But the iPad mini display looks slightly better than the Tab S9 FE. I have seen the S9 and the S9 Ultra, and I can tell you they have a wonderful display. The resolution is really high, the refresh rates are higher, it just feels smoother. But when I started using the iPad mini, I could feel the difference. I could tell that the resolution on the Samsung wasn't as much as I would like it to be. So with that being said, if you really care about what screens look like, the iPad mini would be a better choice for you. I use my tablets for other things as well, aside from writing notes. I edit photos on my tablet too. I look at pictures, I preview my photos from my camera on my tablet sometimes, and I could really benefit from a better looking screen. I think I did mention about the feeling of using the pencils. I said it wasn't something to complain about, but writing with the Apple Pencil, maybe it's just an Apple thing. There's an extra little level of detail that makes it feel a little more natural than the Samsung. Now, I'm not saying the Samsung is bad. Writing with the Samsung tablet is still great. It's amazing. When I first used it, I was blown away. But comparing it to the Apple, there's something extra with the Apple feeling. I've seen people put a matte screen guard on their iPads. I am not planning to do that. They put the paper-like display. Well, I haven't tried, so if I don't try, I won't know. The only reason why I didn't try is because I heard you would chop into your Apple Pencil tip, and that's not something I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to replace my Apple Pencil tips very often like that. And also, if you put a matte screen protector on your tablets, you'll have reduced contrast overall, because the little textures on the screen kind of messes with your pixels and the way you perceive the colors and the richness of the contrast. So that's not something I use. I use screen guards or screen protectors on my tablets, but they're all clear, not matte, not privacy, nothing like that. I'm not trying to degrade the quality of the screen more than it already is. And that's it for the differences, to be honest. They both have USB-C. They both have thumbprint sensors positioned at different parts of the body. The speakers on both of them sound good, but just different. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the iPad mini ever since I got it, because I've got the synchronization that I was lacking before now. And if I'm making notes on my iPhone, I can see it on my tablet. If I'm making notes on my tablet, they come up on my iPhone. I still take them everywhere, but sometimes you're just not in the position to pull out a tablet so you can continue writing what you started on your tablet on your phone, and it all syncs up. I like that. Will I sell the Samsung? I'm thinking about it, I'm contemplating that, but I haven't made a decision just yet, considering the fact that the Samsung tablet runs on Android OS, and Android OS gives you more freedom when it comes to installing apps and games. I don't play games on my tablet, but APK files, just get it and install. It works. If you don't like it, uninstall it. You can't say the same for Apple. You know, Androids come with a lot more customizable features, and I just feel like I can't really do without an Android device in my life. I've got a Samsung S10 Plus, the smartphone. I've had it for many years and I still use it. It still works. So I'm kind of keeping my Samsung Tab for now, although I'm using it way less. I might end up selling it, I might end up keeping it. It all depends. But the only regret I have about my iPad mini is I wish I had a bigger memory in it, because I bought the 64GB version. Initially I just thought I'm just writing notes on it, but using it over time you start to get more attached to your tablet, airdropping things from your phone, airdropping things from your MacBook. So if you're trying to get an iPad and you know you need to use it long term, consider getting at least 128GB. If you can get 256GB, if you're a creator, you will enjoy it a lot more, because you'll be able to send files. Considering how heavy Apple files are these days, if you're recording video, ProRes on your iPhone, Apple Log, it's really huge, it's in gigabytes. So being able to airdrop stuff out of your phone or your computer to your tablet. There's things like DaVinci Resolve for mobile, there's things like Logic Pro for mobile. So if you're using any of these programs, I believe you should get something like 128GB. Yes, you can attach an SSD to it, but realistically speaking, you're not always trying to pull out a tablet with an SSD stuck at the back. So yeah, my Samsung has 128GB, the Apple has 64. I wish it had 128. That's my fault. Obviously you'd pay more money for that. Otherwise, I'm not someone to just really complain about a product except it's obviously terrible. You know what I'm saying? Because these things are technology, it comes from human ideas and they improve over time. I feel like where we are right now with tech is a really good spot. There are no bad cameras out on the market. There are no bad smartphones. Every smartphone has got some crazy feature or the other. Every camera is doing 4K, 6K cameras, and they're affordable too. So I don't think we can really go wrong with anything we buy. It's just a matter of deciding if it is for you. And the iPad, in my opinion, are for people who already use MacBooks and iPhones. And the Samsung Tab, in my opinion, are for people who use Windows or other Android devices. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you again on the next one. Bye.